This is in response to Dr. Paul Krugman's article in the New York Times on Friday, December 18th, 2015, The Big Short, Housing Bubbles and Retold Lies. Now, Dr. Krugman is basing his article on a new movie that's coming out called The Big Short, but let's go back just a teeny bit. In 2009, after we had an extensive, a terrible housing bubble that blew up the economy all over the place, there was a commission that was done in 2009 to basically, the idea was, let's get to the bottom of this, let's find out what went wrong, and let's make corrections to what happened. And it was similar to the one that was made in the early 1930s after the Big Depression got started. But what happened was our friends on the Republican side, they didn't want to have a truthful commission that would get to the bottom of these things, because if it did, it would have pointed the finger at Wall Street, and they wanted to continue to help Wall Street continue doing its same old thing. So the idea is that if you don't remember the past, you're subject to repeat it. They said, we don't want to remember the past because we want to help Wall Street continue to repeat the same shit that they'd been doing. All right. So we get to the movie, and Dr. Krugman basically points out that the movie is follows very well what had gone on, and the shysters that had gone on, knowing what they were doing was fraud, illegal, and they didn't care because they got money out of the deal. So, and a lot of it has to do with something called repackaging, and I'll do this briefly. So you go to the mortgage place, and you fill out an application to get a mortgage, the mortgage company, and they give you the mortgage, they sell it to the bank, the mortgage company gets their percentage, the bank gets it, they sell it to Wall Street, they get their profit out of it, Wall Street packages it, sells it out to investors, they repackage it with all kinds of other stuff, so if a little bit goes bad, it's not a big deal. But in the meantime, everyone in that chain knew everything that was going on was bullshit, that they were taking applications of people who weren't even remotely close to being qualified and having them lie on it and saying, oh yeah, I can do this, I can do this. So the example would be, if you're making $4,000 a month, and your mortgage is $4,500 a month, yeah, we can get you a loan for that. That's fine. And everyone was part of that whole fraud in the housing industry. And it was known from 2005 on that this was coming up. Krugman pointed this out many times. But a lot of economists basically said, hey, what housing bubble? There's no housing bubble here. And even Alan Greenspan indicated, what did he call it? An irrational exuberance. But there was a huge housing bubble. It crashed. It went down. Millions of people and people who weren't even a part of this, who had legitimate loans, got screwed because their mortgages got packaged so many times across, they couldn't figure out what was going on and who actually owned the mortgage, so to speak. So a lot of the little people, meaning a lot of the little people, got hurt and got hurt very badly. But the big people, hey, they got a bailout, all right? And of course, The Big Short exposes all of this stuff. And Dr. Krugman applauds them for exposing their stuff. And he knows that they must have done a good job in exposing this because the big money interests in Wall Street are trashing it. And why are they trashing it? Is because they're telling the truth. Because they want to retell, they want to repackage those same old lies. One of the things that Wall Street was indicating as the reason why there was this housing bubble, of course, they blamed it on the government. They blamed it on some, one of them was an obscure Community Reinvestment Act from 1977 or 1978 that caused the housing bubble to burst in 2008. See how that goes, their thing. But they got to blame the government. But the point is, Wall Street wants to continue to screw anyone that they possibly can, and they want to figure out how to, through an algorithm, through outright lies, through deceit, through fraud, to get money in their hands and then to send it off to some other poor schmo and let them deal with it. And this is the type of thing that has to stop. And of course, the big moneyed interests are going to play a big part of this election in 2016, especially on the Republican side. So you can expect these retold lies to continue, and to continue, and they're going to be repackaged in new varieties to make it look like it's all the Democrats' fault. Because, hey, it was Obama.